Good morning and welcome to another edition. I want you guys to know that Justin and Jake and I have been trying to lock this one down for a while, and it definitely was one of my favorites. This was a lot of fun to do. They have a lot to say, I'll do it no justice by trying to give it a cool lead in. So I'm just gonna let her rip. But before that, I just want to say thank you to everyone who listens to this and maybe utilizes some of the stuff that we talk about, because I've said it before, this is as much of my journey and about my growth as it is for everyone else. So thanks again. And I'm joined by LT Justin Lee.
Nope, engineer.
Damn it. And it is LT Rawlson. Yep. I'll give you a field promotion.
Yeah,
I'll give you a field promotion.
I ran out of position.
I like it. Well, see, it's the same. It's supposed to be the same, right?
Yeah.
All right. Well, they actually approached me with an idea and a topic that they wanted to cover, and I probably won't do it any justice to try to lead you into this. So I'm gonna let them Rochambeau for who wants to go first, and just let us know, maybe we ought to just back up and have you guys just introduce yourself, and just kind of give us a sense of who you are, where you're from, and and that, because there's a lot of us that are new. There's a lot of us that know you, but send it.
Sure. Jake Rollison. I've been with the department for 9 years, and I've spent my entire career on A Shift South. Started working with Justin probably 6 years ago now when Station 5 opened. Did a little stint at 14 when I made engineer, and then was lucky enough to get back to 5 in the last year. And I'll let you go next. Introduce yourself.
Yeah, Justin Lee. I've been with the department for 7 years now. Started
7 years, question mark.
Yeah,
I love it.
Somewhere around there.
Yeah, ish, right?
Started up at 18. Did about a year and a half up there. Came down to Station 5.
Did
Pretty
you?
much, yeah.
I didn't know you were up there.
Yep.
All right.
And pretty much had the same career as Jake since then. Got promoted to engineer, went to 14. Spent about 10 months there. Then the spot came open at 5. And
Did you guys go to 14 at the same time?
no,
I was there, I should know, but
every time he would leave,
right,
and then come back, I would leave. And then
we'd get around like 4 months working together before one of us had to switch back to the other house.
It just wasn't meant to be until it was meant to be.
That's right.
Right. Well, we were talking before I started recording, and they were going over with me how their idea kind of came about, and I thought it was great. So I had to stop them in their tracks from telling me the story, because it makes sense when you hear it, because we all know how we talk in the rigs and how we talk to each other. So how did this come about?
So kind of a series of long conversations I feel like that we've gone into, whether it be on the truck or late at night sitting around the kitchen table. But one thing that we've always kind of talked about is a lot of people are doing, especially in our department right now, there's a big push for leadership. We're trying to develop these leadership programs and stuff.
Right.
And leadership inside the firehouse gets pushed a lot. No one really ever talks about what it looks like to continue that and be a leader when you're off shift.
Right.
How are you carrying yourself off duty, and how that is important when you get back into the firehouse. So whether that, getting buy-in from the younger guys, especially, we got so many new hires coming through now.
Right.
That I feel like if you're going to be pushing the leadership aspect, we can go a little deeper and talk about what it means to show that when you're off duty.
Yeah, I think I'd have to agree with that.
Right.
With, like you said, with pushing the leadership in the department, but also think too, like most of the leaders that I look up to in our department, they're not just good people on shift, but they're good people off shift. Their wives come to the station, they're the same exact person every time.
Right.
And it's like, you don't have to worry about like going to that guy's house and him making a fool of himself, because he's just a solid person. Like we were talking about before with Tim, like I've been to Tim's house a few times.
Tim Clark.
Yeah,
Right.
Tim Clark. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, shout out to Tim Clark. He
Yeah.
was going to join us today, wasn't able to make it, but he also, I believe, was one of the forces behind this and kind of an inspiration to you guys. At least, that was part of the conversation that we were having before this. And shout out to Tim.
Yeah.
Awesome.
But like I was saying, like I just know Tim is going to be Tim whenever I get to his house. I don't have to worry about him around my kids. Don't have to worry about him around my wife. Like,
Right.
and that leadership carries over to the station with new hires. Whenever hit the table again. When Tim comes to the station, he's going to be a leader at the station. He's going to be out there with the new guys. New guys will be sitting inside, and Tim's out there checking the truck off, washing it by himself. So not only does he lead by like his instruction, but it's just he's a leader with his actions too.
Yeah, I feel like there's kind of an understood standard, at the station or on a fire ground or a medical call, whatever.
There should be and understood.
Right.
Right. There should be.
And I feel like there should be a standard outside of work as well. And if you're reaching a point in your life where you're wanting to get into these leadership positions, then I feel like you need to feel like you're prepared to take on that role as a whole,
Right.
not just when you're sitting at the firehouse around all the guys. And one thing we talk about with our new guys, and I'll use Mead as an example, who's been jam up, but he was 19 when he got started. I was 18 when I started. So having those older guys that were, we kind of talk a lot about like the big three, good dads, good husbands, and good firemen.
Yeah.
And that's not to say that you can't be a good leader if you don't have kids or you're not married.
Right.
But those guys for me, like Tim and other guys that I've been very fortunate with the officers that I've had
Right.
coming up. Stringer as a captain, Josh Brannon as a lieutenant, Tim Young and Luke Nehemias when I was at 14.
Oh yeah.
All guys that are super involved in their kids' lives,
Right.
good husbands to their wives, into the job, doing it the right way. And as an 18 or 19-year-old kid, at that point when we're getting these younger guys like that, you're not just, we're developing firefighters, guys or girls. We're developing firefighters, but we're also, if you come in at 18, we're developing adults.
Oh yeah. I frequently have said that I'm teaching them sometimes life skills.
Oh, 100%.
And I use one of my previous new guys, Connor Daigle. He was about as green as it gets in life experience and everything. 'Cause he's and I don't think it's a secret. He was homeschooled his whole life, right? So between that and we had to teach him a lot of life skills at the station. So who we are matters to him and will matter to him, as going forward. We're all kind of setting the model for some of these guys, and we're getting them at 18 years old. What do they know? They know what high school was like.
Oh, that was me.
Yeah.
I didn't have both my brothers.
Yeah.
Both my brothers are with the department now. Caleb's at 5 on C shift so I relieve him every morning. Ben's up at 19 on A shift, but all three of us came in at, I think Ben was the oldest one when he started at 20.
So how important is it for you, right?
So,
you got two little brothers coming up behind you, and how you behave and what happens to you, matters to you, of course, but you're setting the standard for these two.
Yep.
So heck yeah.
Caleb just started his family last year. Ben's engaged now, so he'll be heading in that direction.
Right.
And when I start to, hopefully eventually they'll start getting into those roles, and whether they're my brothers or not, when we get to the firehouse, and we got again someone like me, or he's just the youngest rookie that I've had, but
Right.
I feel like there's a lot of guys that they want that type of leadership as well. I know I did when I started. I didn't want just to learn how to be a good firefighter. I wanted to learn.
Yeah.
I grew up pretty much in the firehouse.
It could be a good mix, and it's not everyone is for everyone, and do you want to be at, and this is kind of a rhetorical question, but would you want to be at a station where it's all dads, or would you want a balance of a guy take me for example. I'm 47, right? So I'm past going 9 o'clock. I'm ready to go to bed. Right? My kids are teenagers pretty much, and then you could have a lieutenant who's 20
28.
something years,
Yeah.
28-year-old lieutenant who doesn't have any kids and is potentially going to be fighting in the brawls and badges or whatever that thing is. So you could, I think, having a good mix of that, but everyone kind of needs someone like to model who they are. Otherwise,
Yeah, and I think whenever I first came to Five, that was a really good mix because I had Jake there, me and him same age, same step in life, no kids. I think were we even engaged to our
Ross,
wife?
really, yeah.
Were we
Yeah.
engaged? I think we were
No.
still dating.
Yeah.
Not us, but
Yeah.
us and our wives.
right.
But yeah, I had 2 or 3 guys around me that were like of equal strengths and weaknesses and same steps in life.
Yeah.
And then I also had the Tim Clarks, the Jason Myers, the guys that are engineers, have families at home, a little bit older.
Mhm.
So I had a good mix, and I do think that's important. And I think at Five right now, we have a pretty good mix of guys. Like with Josh, he's an old man, so but he's got younger kids
in his
too.
defense, Josh has been called Old Man Brandon at least for almost 15 years because that's how long. Yeah, because that's when I met him, and that's when they were calling him Old Man Brandon. In 2010.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, but
nothing's
now you
changed.
got like us newer dads. I mean,
Yeah.
young families still trying to figure stuff out.
I'm
and-
excited for you guys. 'Cause this is like
Yeah.
you guys as kids are small. It's like the best stage in life.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I might catch hell for this, but I tell my wife all the time, like I would do it again right now, but she won't. Like
Yeah.
she's already told me that this is over with. The world has enough of your children. We're not putting any more of those out there. But hell yeah, like a little kid say, it's the most fun.
Oh, yeah.
It's the most fun,
Yeah.
and and that kind of develops you. And do you guys watch your kids? I'm sure there's a daycare like you guys, and we really shouldn't call it daycare because they're your kids. But on your off days,
Oh yeah,
you're in charge.
It's daddy daycare for us at my house.
And
so.
to me, that was like I had that blessing with both of mine, and that was some of the best time of my life. And money can't buy
Yeah,
all
100%.
the the trips to Home Depot. And my daughter had this this fluffy thing that you'd have to put in the shopping cart, and then you put her in it. So it's literally I might as well just be wearing a tutu myself. I got to dress this thing up so that she, so she has a good time. And I had a ball. I had a ball. And, and same thing with my son. We'd go everywhere, and not everyone is afforded that. So maybe some of those type of experiences lead to like who we are.
Yeah,
right?
100%.
Because not everybody's going to be great, but something in all of us brought us into this job, and for you two, it brought you here before you had kids. So let's compound whatever that was, because I don't think anyone really knows what that is. On top of all your cool dad experiences that you're having along the lines, and this is what you're passing off, not just to the new people, but even people older than you, you're rubbing off on them.
Yeah.
So awesome. Talk about like when you are outside in like if we were like a softball game or something like that, or out like life outside of work. What like when you guys are on the rig, because I assume you guys are passing this conversation over top of the engine block.
Yep.
In the tower, the squad most of the time. Talk about that. What goes across that?
Yeah, so I mean, basically what it all boils down to whenever we have these conversations, and this is whether you have kids or not, we're hopping a lot on the dad stuff because that's, I mean, we got young kids.
That's where you're at.
We're in it right now. But, just a lot of it comes down to just being a good person. Doing the right thing. Are you, a person of integrity? What's your character like outside of work? And, we talk a lot about how that relates back into the firehouse. For me, when I first started, had a guy that was like super into the job, but then I know he's acting a fool every day that he's off as an officer,
Right.
I mean, and, everybody grows up. Like I was 18 when I got started. I definitely wasn't ready to be in a position where I could set the example. But I think that creates buy-in from your younger guys when you're teaching them the job, and they know that outside of work, like, man, this guy's squared away. He's not out there, showing his butt every time he's off duty, or running around on his family and that kind of stuff. Like, which
that stuff exists. It just does. And you hear about it, and it's the. I wouldn't even call it like the dirty secret, because it isn't no secret when it's going on.
Yeah.
But it's not that much of a challenge to keep your face out of that. It really isn't. Mm-hmm. But with the extension of outside of the department, you also have if you're a member of the board in your community. You know what I mean? It goes beyond just being a good person. At least from my perspective, they're gonna. We know everything about each other, right? Because it's like in our downtime, we're just vomiting out all this stuff all over each other. There's no secrets, right? So, like, I'll tell you just from my perspective. I'm like the vice president of the HOA dad, right? Mm-hmm. Right? And my front yard is like the football field, the soccer field, the basketball goal. I'm the door is always open. If you look at my yard, it's a mixture of scooters and basketballs and kickballs and stuff that's landed on the roof. And even those experiences, because you guys are homeowners, right? And so your neighbors know who you are,
right?
I assure you have the same experiences that I have. You go into Publix, you need to set aside at least another 5 minutes, because you're going to run into someone from the department, right? Or I can't pump gas without running into someone from the department. Or my daughter is on a travel softball team, and when we're there at the game, kids are getting hurt all the time, right? They're getting the softball donked off their head, they're falling down, they're crying and stuff, And so who do they look to first? They don't call like the nurse,
right?
Like, you gonna go do anything? And how we behave in that, it matters. Not just, this is where it extends out just to people in your life. Like, if you're a POS, we're all a POS.
Oh, yeah.
That's how that's literally, I mean, as bad as it sounds, that's how they'll view us. Like, you could, I won't say you would ruin it for everyone, but you'd ruin it to that person.
Yeah.
They're going to look at everyone. They're like, oh, the firemen aren't what I thought they were. Yeah. And think about that very statement. Firemen aren't what I thought they were, because that's what they'll do. They'll label everybody. Right.
Yeah. When you talk about pumping gas, we all drive around with stickers on the back of our truck.
Yep. And you're talking to an imperfect being here. Like, I'll be the first person to tell you, I drive my truck like I'm going to like I haven't, I'm starving to death.
Yeah.
Pushing that union tag to their back
honking the horn, so I'm ashamed of myself half the time. And I'm, like I said, I'm a work in progress, but it dawns on me, like, oh shit, like,
yeah.
What if, in like, even in my older years now, I have moments that I'm not proud of, but I go back to, like, somebody's seeing my tag on the front, or I got the station logo on the back of my truck.
Yeah.
Or they, I had one guy follow me to my house, and it wasn't even something that I was doing, but he followed me because he wasn't happy with something, but I got fire station logos all over my truck.
Yeah.
So,
well, and then you relate that back to the new guys that we're getting.
Mm-hmm.
If they start seeing that from the guys at their station, and they don't have any other type of experience with anybody or any other department,
it becomes normal.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I think that's where it kind of ties back in.
Yeah.
And, you don't have to be in an officer position to be in a leadership role.
Right.
I think all of us teach on the new hire class, with the new hire classes, whether it be truck week, squad week, on the burn cadre.
Yeah.
A lot of us at 5 do.
Mm-hmm.
So these new guys are seeing our faces, and they're hearing our names, and we have, at some point, a standard has to be set.
Mm-hmm.
from the guys that have been here for us to, I feel like we're heading in a really strong direction with the culture of this department, but it needs to be maintained when we're outside of work as well, I think.
Yeah, and outside of work, and I think it also needs to be said, because you guys are here representing Station 5, right? And you could very well be to a new person's eyes their representative unknowingly,
right?
So you're training with the new people, mouthing off, or just because they're watching everything that we're doing. They're watching what you do, and they're watching what you don't do.
Oh, yeah. Listening to what you say.
So and I could be just as guilty of this as anyone. The other cadre members are teaching, and if you and I are scrolling through our Facebook page, they see that.
Mm-hmm.
We're making that kind of stuff okay.
Yeah.
And no one. I'm not saying we all need to be perfect, but heavy opinions sometimes are forged with very small moments.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Very small moments.
Well, to transition from that, with the heavy opinions comment, you get a new guy around someone that's got a horrible attitude,
mm-hmm.
and they're constantly just bad-mouthing whatever it is, the department, why we do things the way that we do, their wife and kid, whatever it is, that's going to carry over into the newer guy.
Right.
Yeah.
Because
you become
it's
a product of your environment.
Yeah, it's 100% contagious. Now people go start taking classes at conferences and stuff. Next thing you know, all that you're hearing while you're there is oh, my department's this, my department's that.
Mm-hmm.
This job sucks. Blah 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 blah. And that's another outside of work example.
Yeah, that's a big one, because it's not just the person from your crew or from the station who came with you. That now you're spreading the word across our business, right? So you guys do the RIT competition, and you've won before, right? So it's not just you're good at your job. How humble that you are in that is going to leave an impression. To everyone is to a different degree with everyone else, but that one impression that you guys are putting out there could be a very deep-seated one, right? And so with you guys winning that, there's probably several teams who remember everything about that and remember a lot of things that you said, a lot of things you guys did. So not only could they be emulating your behaviors during and your training skills and all that, how you guys, how your crew, how you click, all that stuff, they're going to take a lot of that stuff away. And
we even heard that in the competition this year. I think 2 out of our 3 teams disqualified this year.
Yeah,
because of time and.
Yeah.
But going through the practice stuff, you could hear it as we're crawling through, blacked out, can't see anything. You can hear other people talking oh, look how they did this, look how they did that, and nothing it's nothing groundbreaking that we were doing, but you can already just tell the respect was there from other departments because of past experiences.
Yeah, and you notice that, right? Because
mm-hmm.
you get instant feedback. So imagine, because think about how many times that we don't compliment each other, right, on something, but you thought it, right?
Yeah.
Right. So translate that to how many people were watching you guys, and the ones who are able to verbalize it, to get that to come out of their face. Imagine how many people are getting just the same impression from watching you, and also the impression from how humble you guys are in the win.
Yeah.
Right. And the people family members are there watching you. So I don't want to make it grandiose, but it is, because all of our experiences are based upon the subjective version that you see, and that's what everyone is getting from you, but from their perspective. You know what I mean?
Perception is reality.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
So, and that's another kind of transition. I think almost all of our families came down and watched us this time.
Yep.
I think everybody had a wife or kid there, or a girlfriend.
That's awesome. It's awesome.
So we talk a lot of our conversations in the truck end up back to you know, we're very blessed, and I think I can speak for both of us because you know, Justin's outside of work my best friend. Brooke was a bridesmaid in our wedding. Like her and Mandy are very close. Our kids play together all the time, so we talk a lot about our families. And I think we're very blessed in that we have a very good support system at home as well. But I think that also, I think it helps build that because we involve our families a lot with a lot of the stuff we do, whether that be bring them to the station or instead of going down to the competitions and being like, yeah, you know, we're just going to go down with the guys and have a guys weekend. You know, hey, babe, why don't you come with us and see what we do and bring the kids? And
yeah, I think a big part of that is they understand what we do. And it's like, we've talked about it before, like when we leave in the morning to come to shift, they know the risk. And it's like, I feel like my wife has a respect for that and kind of understands that, like, I'm super into the job. I'm going to commit time to this as much as I commit time to my family, commit time to my church, commit time to everything else. I'm going to commit time to the job too. And she's, like he said, I'm super blessed that she understands that, and she's right along with it. She's the one asking me when they're at competition is, just so she can be in that environment as well.
And her household is going to thrive from having you having something like that, because you got to have something, right? And same thing like mine, you know, because if we don't have a way to express ourselves as men, right, then you almost become a shell and you just become about them all the time, and we know that ain't going to go very well. Like, you got to have something, and it's awesome that she has that understanding, like this is your thing, but also you can involve her in it, like.
Yeah, well, I mean, I know Mandy looks forward to that every year.
Yeah,
you know, she enjoys the time at when we have the families over to the firehouse and stuff like that. And I do think that there's a balance. You know, there's a fine. You know, I want to commit a lot of my time to the department and building the department. I don't want that to take away. I don't want my kids to look back and be like, man, Dad was always gone doing stuff with the department.
Right.
You know, so there is that balance that you got to kind of figure out. And I'm not saying that I've got it figured out. I've only been married for 4 years, you know, so I'm still learning every day.
Yeah, I don't think we'll ever figure it out.
But it's definitely, I've noticed in the short amount of time that I have been married that when I do involve my family, it makes that balance a lot easier because everybody understands kind of the why that we're doing what we're doing.
Right.
And like we were saying, like they get involved, they get into it like we do. You know, I think our wives were in the maze with us at the rig competition. We didn't know it because we were blindfolded.
Right.
But they let them in the maze and they're videotaping right behind us.
Awesome.
You know? So our kids are getting to watch all this stuff.
That's amazing that you guys as kids get to go and watch that, because I promise you that is one of the, like, that would be one of their foundational memories.
Yeah.
Like watching you work, like, because all of our dads worked, like, and as young men it was always like, oh, you know, it's almost like becoming part of his world that you didn't even know existed. You have no, you know, you don't know anything about it. Awesome.
Yeah, and it makes them feel like they're wanted too. You know, like Mandy knows that I want her there at those things, and you can even tie that back into, you know, we're gonna have hard calls. We're gonna have those calls that just suck when we get off work.
Yeah. And
if they kind of understand a little bit of what's going on, I think it makes that easier to deal with as well, because we do have that support system at home.
Right. So let's go down that road real quick. How do you talk about work when you go home?
For me, it's kind of easy because Mandy was actually in EMT school when I was in paramedic school. So she didn't end up going down this career path, but she got to go through EMT school and do some rides and stuff like that. So she spent a couple of days in the fire station. So for me, it's easy. We just kind of, I come home from work and I don't talk about it too much in front of the kids, really, because most of the time we're just so busy chasing them around. But, you know, when we sit down at the end of the day or something, it'll just, hey, you know, how was work? And I know that I can just talk freely about whatever, you know, we did whether that be a call or station life, or a lot of the conversations that we have, I talk about the stuff we did at the station.
Right.
Because we've got such a solid crew right now. I just have so much fun coming to work.
It's half comedy and it's half calls most of the time.
And I'd probably say the same for me. Brooke wasn't involved in this job. Didn't really have any family in it before. But, I mean, I come home, pretty much talk about stuff that's important that I did during work. Funny stuff, too. Some people getting hit in the face and stuff. And
I bring this up just because, there's what we get hit with. You both of you, I'm sure, have got the big question, like, oh, what's the worst thing you've ever seen? And, tell me, what's it like, and this, that, and the other.
Yeah.
And I honestly, even now, I still struggle to answer that question. Like honestly, I just try to think of something funny that happened.
Yeah, that's what I do.
Exactly
I think of a funny call, and even with my wife, like, because there's been some calls that have been hard, and I generally will give her the edited version of it. Once in a while, I'll open up if it's something that I think that I can bounce off of her. But one thing that I've told to at least the last few new people that I have, and this didn't really dawn on me till later on in my career, but it's so true that you can be totally cut out for this job, like stone inside, nothing bothers you, show up and you're the same every single day, and great at the job, like solid paramedic. You can be top notch, prepared to do this job. But that doesn't mean that your family is prepared for you to be gone every 3 days.
Right.
And in that, in the beginning of my marriage was a bit of a struggle, right? Because and you probably have the same experience that I have, is when things go wrong, it's when I'm at work.
Oh yeah, every time.
The power will go out.
Yep.
Or there's a tornado warning.
Kids
or
get sick.
The spiders attack.
Yep.
It's always that stuff when you're at home. The animals and creatures, everything happens.
My dog ate a whole bag of chocolate chips the last time I was at work, and Mandy had to give her peroxide to make her throw up so she didn't have to get rushed to the ER bed.
Does that work?
So it worked. Apparently, it worked in 2 minutes. I wasn't there.
See, perfect. You learned something.
But of course, I'm right when we sit down for dinner at the firehouse, I'm getting a phone call.
Oh man.
So, stuff always happens.
That's the way it works. It's going to happen when you're away. And hats off to all of our wives. For anyone who's in this business that is away from home for more than what the average worker has to, it's a challenge for those that we leave behind. And I'm guilty of this, of in the past, having the thought, like, on Saturdays and Sundays when, she's home with the kids, there's not a lot going on, and I've been guilty in the past about having at least like a snarky, at least thought in my head. Sometimes it flies out of my face, and she's really good about reminding me. She says, listen, when you're away, it's just me.
Yeah.
I'm the nurse, I'm the cook, I'm the putting them to bed, I'm all this stuff. And it's I get humbled every now and again. She and I have been together for several years. We've been married for, I'm gonna get in trouble. So, but we're working on 20.
Nice.
We're getting close.
Yeah.
So,
going back to the leadership aspect of it, those younger guys that aren't married yet, or girls, whoever, they're gonna watch how you respond to those situations. If you're at work when it's going down, if you get a phone call from your wife, it's easy for us to forget, because especially when you're with a good crew. Like, I can tell you right now, our crew, like, I don't feel like I'm going to work.
No.
I come into work every day and I feel like I'm just having a blast.
Yeah.
And I know that's we talk about this a lot too, trying not to take this stage in our careers for granted, because I've been blessed with really good crews, but I don't know that I've ever had as much fun as I'm having at work right now.
So
it's easy to forget that we're at work and not just hanging out with our buddies.
Yeah.
And then you get the phone call from your wife that something went, or whatever, something's going wrong at the house, or the kids are sick, or it's sometimes it's hard to remember not to be like I don't want to say inconvenienced,
Right.
but not to,
But baby, we're barbecuing.
right. Like, oh, gosh, dude, like I'm right in the middle of working out with the guys.
Yeah.
So
I think too, like with the RIT competition, what we were talking about before, is by having our families come around to those competitions, coming by the station, Christmas Eve,
Mm-hmm.
we had probably
12 kids probably
10 or
running
12
around the
kids
firehouse.
running around the firehouse.
Awesome.
All of our wives and everything, and it's like, for the guys at our station that aren't married, not engaged, maybe have a girlfriend, like they get to see how we act around them, and then it's setting an example. Not that we have anything figured out, because we're trying to figure it out ourselves.
We'll be doing that for the rest of our careers. We'll be retiring. Like I still have no idea what I'm doing.
Maybe
I'm just
one day
showing
I'll
up.
get it.
I'm just showing up.
I didn't even realize. I had one of our backseat guys. I think we were in the gym. I think it was me and you. He comes up and he's like, "Man, like I want what y'all have," and I was like, "Oh crap!" Like he's washing, and I didn't even know.
And you two monkeys are creating this at the station every time you go to work. So the attitude, like there was a time, and I'm there now. I'm finally with a crew where like you. I'm stoked to be going to work because we're gonna be doing something fun. Our dinner table conversations are always a blast. We pray, we do all the things that we're supposed to do. And I had a few years where I kind of dreaded it. And who I'm there with, just like who you're at the station with, matters.
Mm-hmm.
But it should only matter to a degree because like you can be the force of change.
Yeah.
If there's and maybe let's go down that road. How do you guys handle when someone comes in with, or let's just throw a hypothetical to you. Somebody promotes out, and a Debbie Downer comes in. Because there's those. In this business, there are those, not just in our department. If you go to any department, there's the guy who hates to be here, hates his life, hates his wife, hates it, hates the fact that the sun comes up every day and just bleeds this stuff out. How do you guys handle that?
I think for me, and this might be something that we end up getting faced with, within the next year, because we've got a lot of guys that are about to start testing on A shift. Sweeney and Groon have only been here for a year and a half, and they're testing for engineer in February.
Yeah,
It won't, Mead's going to be done with medic school in February, so he'll be testing. This engineer's list is going to go quick, so he'll be testing soon.
5 guys out of 11.
Yeah, and then whenever
That'll be testing this year.
whenever the next lieutenant's list, this current one exhausts, Justin and Ross will be taking the lieutenant's test. So this time next year, we might have 5 new people on the crew. And for me, one thing that I feel like the easiest way for me to do that is just to try to be the example. Like if I know that I'm doing it the right way, then first of all, if I feel like I'm not doing it the right way and I'm talking like I am,
right,
people are going to know. They're going to see.
Yeah.
It's not. They're going to be able to look at you and be like, "Man, this guy talks a lot, but he sure as heck ain't living the way that he's talking."
Yeah, it's judgment time. You go back out there.
So
yeah,
I feel like that's my plan of attack to start. What happens after that, then I guess we'll get into the weeds of that.
right.
Yeah.
Whenever it gets here. But hopefully, we talk a lot about attitude being contagious. And that goes both ways, whether it's a negative attitude or a positive attitude. And if you surround yourself with a lot of guys that have a positive attitude on work, their home life, and again, we're talking a lot about kids and spouses because a lot of us right now at 5 on A shift especially all have kids pretty much the same age. Me, you, Justin, Ross, Josh Brannon, Sweeney, all of our kids are under 5 years old,
right.
Which is even more fun because now they're coming up together doing like on Christmases and stuff, hug it. He's got kids that are, 5 and 8 or something like that. So I think that leading by example in the station and out of the station with positivity goes a long way because it's going to be infectious and hopefully spread, and then these guys start testing out. Hopefully that spreads to further in the department.
It 100% will. One thing I have, if I were to go back to, dreading going to work versus like on your way to work, like heck yeah. It's Monday, we're gonna get some today or whatever. But even if you were just to greet everyone, and I'll give you an example of this. As the vacuum runs in the background, I went to Teaks in Texas, and Texas A&M hosts the All Hazards, Incident Command. If you haven't been to it, it's fantastic. And there was only 2 lieutenants, me and another guy, and we were the 2 lowest ranking people in the whole room, and we were in there with fire chiefs, city managers, lots of battalion chiefs and operations chiefs. So it was humbling to be sitting in the room with all of them. But what was more humbling was, as all of us were walking to the classroom every day, every single instructor was waiting in the hallway, smiling and greeting everyone with good morning, how are you? And it doesn't sound like much, but I'm going to tell you, it leaves a lasting impression. Just a positive greeting in the morning set the tone for the whole day. And of course they kept that through the entire day. Nobody kind of peeled like a banana and turned into someone else. That was just how they were, made the training. Just like I try to make a point when I get to the station to say hi to everyone as soon as I see them. And if I don't get a chance to, it kind of weighs on me, because it's kind of become something that I enjoy. Like, hey, how you doing? Good morning. Good morning is one of the best things we can do for each other. And it's the smallest price to pay, is a smile and a good morning to everyone.
Well, and you're going to build that buy-in from your other guys too. Like I said earlier, you don't have to be an officer necessarily to put yourself in a leadership position. But I mean, there's mornings where I come to work that you're like, oh man, I was going to call in sick today, but and here I am driving to work, and you kind of got to switch that flip when you walk in the station. And I feel like I kind of noticed it when I got promoted last year, that I kind of set the standard for myself a little bit higher because of what I wanted from my officers when I was riding backseat.
Right.
So you're going to create that buy-in from those guys when you come into work every day with that mentality. And if you're not ready to be able to switch that flip and understand that I have to set the tone for this station or this shift today, whether that be an engineer who's riding up, a senior backseat guy that's been here, that's got a rookie riding with him, or a lieutenant or a captain or a chief, if you're not ready for that responsibility, then maybe you're not ready to put yourself in a leadership role.
Yeah, and I think going back to the dud coming in and kind of like lowering the standard of the station, I think consistency is probably one of the biggest things that I've seen with, like, we've all had them coming to the station, whether they're on overtime or whatever, and they come in and you have a standard set for yourself, and then, like, I know at Station 5 we have a standard for each other as well, of like, we're going to come in every day, we're going to train, whether we're working out in gear, whether we're throwing ladders, search training, RIT training, whatever it is, every day we're consistent. And I think that it's like that saying 10 pounds of pressure, like consistency is that 10 pounds of pressure every shift. That person sees you going out throwing ladders, eventually they're going to come out and watch you, and then the next step is they're going to be like, I'm gonna go throw one real quick.
Right.
And I've seen it in our station a handful of times, of like, you get those people to eventually buy in. And I mean,
and we're very blessed too. Like, we've kind of got it easy right now because everybody at our station has a high standard for, like, I know in my mind my standard for myself is higher than I have for anybody else, but I know that when Justin comes to work, his standard for himself is higher than he has for anybody else, if that makes sense. And all of us have that mentality right now at Station 5.
But where did that come from?
So, Tim Clark.
I mean, honestly, if we're going to be real, do you think everyone showed up with that? Or do you think it's when there's always someone, right? There's always someone who will be first to go outside and do it, right? And that's the person that is the most visible to the dud, and it's not just the act of them doing it, and they probably don't realize this. The act of them doing it is what pisses them off the most.
Yeah.
But where the change will come in is watching their attitude afterward, because the dud's mind is going, that sucks. That's going to suck afterward. I'm going to be tired. I don't want to do that, or whatever the excuse is. But when that, whoever that is goes outside and throws ladders, does a search drill, whatever the case may be, and still has a good attitude afterward, that consistently, will, at least I believe, will be one of the biggest forces for change in getting people, to buy into it, because no one's going to buy into that initially. You're going to get the guy who's used to having, no support system. You're going to have the guy who's used to, used to the exact opposite, right? Used to recliner time. And you even have crews right now, or you have people who are on crews where everyone is consistently in the recliner. But you can have a good station life, and I think there needs to be part of the conversation of also allowing our differences. There's maybe I would be so bold as to say Station 5 has probably the bulk of the top-notch people in the department right now, right? But if you'll grant me this, you guys are only as good as you are under comparison to everyone else, right? Because that's how we are judged. Is you don't judge each other by what you do, you judge each other by the comparison to everyone else, and so we're all doing that. Right, and so kudos to everyone there for setting the bar so high. Well, that's it. That's one of those things that the dud's going to feed off of, is the consistent buy-in, the consistent, actions of everyone, and it's the domino effect. You'll get 2, and then you get 3, and when you make it okay, you make it fun. That's one of the biggest things, is when it's fun. Like, I was at 5. I wasn't at 5 nearly as long as you guys. I had a year, I think, there, and it was a ball. It was so much fun, and it was one of the crews. That's most of them. A lot of them are still there. We played basketball every shift. We worked out sometimes twice a shift. Yeah. We trained all the time. It was a ball, but it was everyone's attitude.
Yeah. Well, if you're doing it right, it should be fun. Yeah. Then you surround yourself with 12 other guys that are also doing it right.
Yeah.
Man, you got.
And then I think
something special
with that, like just the station life of like being consistent and training and playing basketball, playing pickup football on the back pad, like that translates over to calls. Like if we're around each other doing stuff like that, I know exactly what Jake's thinking on every single call we go to. It's like we just had a fire the other day. And like we get off the truck, we both knew we were the first to rescue there by like 5 minutes.
We were clearing the hospital, and a kitchen fire came out. So we were on scene, and I was holding the mic to call my arrival while dispatch was toning out the trucks. So we were there by ourselves for a long time. It was just me and Justin, which I told him. I told Justin it was fun because it felt kind of like the pressure was almost off because nobody else was there, right? So it kind of felt like we were just in a can confidence class. But I knew I didn't have to worry about anything that he was doing. He took the can in and started knocking the kitchen. Right. I did the... I forgot to do my walk around, but I was outside trying to get, call my arrival and
from the rescue. Might I throw that out there? Yeah. Like, who says rescue life is every day is terrible? Heck no, there are days.
We dumped a can on it, and then we dumped the cops extinguisher on it, and then we split searched, and then
cops stole our grab.
Yeah, directed the line in after that. But a lot of that,
all of us had a grab.
I don't think Justin and I talked to each other one time.
No,
other than for him to yell back at me, say, "Hey, can's out."
I think the only time we talked before the call was he told me what road it was on.
But we've been working together for 6 years. There's been stints, obviously, where we were at different stations, but
that trust wasn't built by running calls together. Part of it is, but that trust was built at the dinner table. It was built in the gym. It was built on the training grounds.
Off duty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's the other thing too with the duds in the department is like include them. Like they're the duds. It's like whatever. We're outside training. They're in the recliner. Screw them. Whatever.
Right. Reputation you can honestly earn a reputation unknowingly that doesn't serve you, that
100%.
isn't who you are.
Yeah.
And so and that's one thing that a dud can also do is you can, what they say, dinosaurs lay dinosaur eggs. Well, duds can create other ones around them by the negativity. I'd be willing to say that negativity is way more potent than positivity. I wish that it was the other way, but it's not. Like, as soon as someone makes it okay to start complaining, the whole complaint department opens up and everyone gets to air theirs, and it becomes like it's like how a lot of conversations go. How many conversations do we have that are very complimentary of each other? Oh no. It might start out complimentary, but we're going to go down that road. Right. And just to kind of reinforce you guys' point, recognizing when those things are come flying out of your face, and it's like,
especially in front of the new guys.
They don't need to hear complaints. They don't. I mean, and if you do, you do. When you, because I've had to have this conversation probably more times than I should have, where I have to humble myself and say,
right,
I didn't handle that correctly. I own that, and I've even at the current dinner table at my station, like, I'll be one of the first people to say, I apologize. I didn't handle that right.
Yeah.
Like, I'm better than that. You guys should expect better than me out of that. And, you take the ribbing and you move on.
And you learn from it.
Yeah, you learn from it. And they see, when you got to bounce back from the bad stuff, and you got to.
Well, that's a good point right there. You want to talk about setting an example for new guys. They're watching how you respond to situations, whether that be off duty or on duty. A good on duty example, just an easy one, talking about, we've all had those days where we've done an awful workout and tones drop right afterwards. It's like, am I going to complain and bitch that I can't believe we got to run a call now? Because
that was yesterday for us. Yes.
But if a new guy that's just been here for 2 weeks sees you finish a workout, tones drop, and you're like, all right, let's go run this call. We'll come back and knock this workout out.
Yeah.
That's going to go a long way for that new guy if that's a consistent behavior that you're showing. And the same can go for off. Stuff happens outside of work. You're gonna have situations in your life. Are you acting like a POS because your life's not perfect right now? Right. Or are you like, okay, you know what, I've been dealt a shitty hand this week, but I'm gonna pick it up and show up to work and show this guy or these guys that I'm here for them and I can keep pushing.
Right.
So
in something I think that does need to be said, that there's two sides to everything. We can talk about not bringing work to the house, right? We can, because there's some things that they just don't need to know, and I'm not talking about the funny cutting up and stuff. I'm just the nature of this business can be terrible sometimes, and they don't need to know the details of all that stuff. But if things are going, if I'm having a bad week at the house, or if I bring that into the station and I allow that to become who I am, for even if it's just for the day, right? And I'll give you this happened to me one time, that we were going on a cardiac call, and we're going into a neighborhood, and I'm driving the engine, and of course the gate is open because we followed someone. It's in the middle of the night. Followed someone in, or I'm on the rescue. Apologize. I'm on the rescue. Go in. Well, the engine's behind me, and the gate starts to close. And they have to slam on the brakes. And there was a captain who was on the engine, and an engineer driving him. And he comes screeching up behind the captain, and the engineer comes screeching up behind the rescue, and he's just letting him have it, and he's letting my engineer on the rescue have it. Like, why? The gate wasn't open. This, that, just having a complete fit that we didn't, use the NOx key and open the gate. That was what the most important thing that needed to be talked about right then, and at a very high volume in a person's front yard in the middle of the night. So we go in, and of course we transport. But while we're in the call, the feeling in the call was everyone was concerned about the captain now.
Yeah.
The captain's pissed, and no one's paying attention to what's going on in the call. Everyone's mind is somewhere else. And so even when we get back to the station, everyone's quiet. No one's talking because the captain is mad. And I'm an out-of-position engineer at this point, is all that I am. And so I'm also, I've been at the station for a long time, right? And so they kind of look to me as and I don't necessarily run away from, every battle. I tend to run to them, to my discredit. Like, picking my battles wasn't always my strength. But I take it upon myself. I'll go in the captain's office, and we have to have a discussion. And I'm leading up 2 ranks at this point.
Yeah.
And I had to do it gently and respectfully. But it was one of those, like, listen, we're gonna be. I'm gonna talk to you like a person real quick. Because we're friends at this point, me and this person. And the conversation was, you can't do that. You cannot fall apart on a call, because I said, and I had to point it out to him. I said, that whole call, no one was paying attention to the call. They were all too worried about what was going on with you. The captain is mad. The captain's mad. The captain's mad. And so you essentially made it all about you. I said, and they're all out there falling like dominoes emotionally because they don't know what to do. They don't know how to handle this.
Right.
And to his credit, he nodded and he walked right out of the room, and he went out there and he apologized to all of them. And he was like, I didn't handle that correctly. I apologize. And I had to point it out to him. I was like, listen, I was the one that you should have yelled at.
Yeah.
And he didn't yell at me because I'm the guy who typically drives him all the time. He aimed it at everyone else. And, I'm still friends with him. And, this is where developing a rapport up the rank also really matters, because we're humans. We're friends. We're some, maybe not, but we're at least we're adults. We're acquaintances. We should be able to have those conversations. And once in a while, I need to be kept on the rails, as Brandon Seymour said the other day. Once in a while, I got to be kept on the rails. I do, and I would tell anyone who's listening to this, if something needs to be said, choose your words wisely. But sometimes getting it out there, having the courage to have those hard conversations, even with your superiors, you'll be surprised how receptive and how well those conversations will go, because they need it just like we did. We're in some instances we're just making it up as we go along too.
100%.
Just like they are.
Well, that's a big part of leadership too, is knowing, like, recognizing that it's not always going to be the easy conversations. I've only been a lieutenant for a year, and I've already had to have conversations that are kind of uncomfortable, and I am a very non-confrontational person. So and we've talked about this too, I think just a few shifts ago, but that was a very difficult thing for me to come into, especially as a lieutenant, because now you are the officer. So when there's certain things that are happening, whether that be with somebody a rank below you or a rank above you, I'm not very good at that.
Right.
So I think, again, if you're going to put yourself into these leadership positions and you've got guys that are looking up to you, you've got to be able to be willing to have the, like you said, respectfully. Yeah. But that's a big part of being a leader, is being able to recognize when those conversations need to be had and not being afraid to have them.
And you want to talk about buy-in from your people, right? And I have, I've been privy to a few hard conversations had by other officers as I'm an engineer or even firefighter. Because the station's only so big, you can only go so far away before some conversations are had at high volume. And like I develop a lot of respect for someone who's willing to go to march through the door and help keep someone on the rails, to put it lightly.
Yeah.
Because sometimes those are hard conversations, but the people who see you do that, all of those along the lines have left a lasting impression on me, and at least 2 of them lent to my ability to walk through the door myself.
Yeah.
Because without ever seeing that, there's a darn good chance I wouldn't have even known that was something that I could do, right?
Yeah,
because you don't really know where the line is.
Right. Well, and to feed off of that, like, you also have to be willing to accept that from other people.
Oh, yeah.
That's an even harder part, especially when you are, running a truck and someone's like, hey, man, you're not doing this the right way.
When you're the problem.
Yeah, being willing to listen to that. I don't remember what podcast I was listening to, but one of the ones, it might have been a Weekly Scrap podcast, but somebody said, love me enough to not let me fail. It's going to be, I know that Justin cares enough about me.
He's not the one you got to worry about.
To come to me and be like, dude, you are not doing this right.
Right.
And that's going to be hard to hear.
Oh.
But you have to be able to say, you know what, maybe I'm not doing this right. And I hope that he tells me, if he sees me screwing up at home, if I'm being an asshole to Mandy, or, I'm neglecting my kids or whatever it is, I hope that he would come to me and be like, dude, you need to lock it in. Like, you're out drinking every weekend or running around on your wife or whatever it is that you're doing. Like,
right.
You're losing track of what was important to you, and you're going down a path. So I think, 1, being able to recognize that, and 2, like, surrounding yourself with guys that are willing to say that to you.
And that's a tough part of it, because being non-confrontational, like, you understand how hard that would be, even if it was Justin who's out there just making a fool out of himself in his conduct. You being non-confrontational, there's going to be a sizable amount of apprehension about, like, you're going to have probably a much longer conversation with yourself before you do it than somebody who's just leads with everything with their face.
Right.
Like, and that's what I do, and I'm going to tell you, that's not always the way to be. There's been at least 50% of the conversations that I've just ran right into, I should have stepped back.
Yeah.
And had some apprehension first. And even recently, there's been a couple of them where, like, I could have used, if you've ever had to send a hard email, you vet it through somebody.
Right.
Yeah, I should have done that in a few emails and a few conversations myself. So I could probably take some lessons from someone who's non-confrontational, from somebody who I don't say I like it, but it's. If you want it, let's do it.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. Well, and it's uncomfortable because it's human nature to not want to hear that, right? Like, nobody wants to hear that they're doing it wrong, or doing a bad job at whatever it is that they're doing.
Yeah.
So when someone comes to you and says, "Hey, man, you're messing up," it's like, "What the hell are you talking about?" That's going to be your first reaction. So,
like, screw you.
Yeah,
what are you talking about?
You gotta be able to kind of step back and be like, "Man, maybe I'm not doing this right."
Elaborate at how bad I suck. Like, well, and then it's like the tough pill you got to swallow. Like, you saw that? Like, yeah, everyone saw it. Knucklehead, what are you doing? Right? Tough stuff. This being it's tough being a dad and being the station dad, right? Because that's and you really wouldn't. I don't know if I want to say it. We're like the dad at the station, but you are. Right? You're doing the same thing that you do at the house with your crew at the station. You're setting an example, right? You're having tough conversations. You're showing love, maybe in a different way, of course, but I mean that's why they call it our second family, because we have love and respect for each other, and so we're doing the same job.
Yeah. Well, that part of it. I think it became easier for me when I had kids, because I knew the example that I wanted to set for my kids, and I know the example that I want to set for my kids, and how am I going to preach certain things to my kids as they grow if I'm not living them, because they're going to see through that too, just like anybody at the firehouse will see. If I'm teaching my kids to be one way and I'm not acting that way on duty or off duty, they're going to know. Bring that into the firehouse. Like I said earlier, if I'm acting like a total jerk all the time, and then I get one-on-one time with my rookie, and I'm like, hey, man, you should be like doing this, and I'm not doing that, they're going to know. And that comes back to training, too. Like, I think all of our officers at 5 especially get out there and do everything that we ask our privies to do.
Right.
You know, because I don't want to be the guy that's telling them, hey, go throw this ladder, and then 6 months go by and I haven't picked up a ladder, and then now I have to do it in front of them. You know, and it's embarrassing. And I think it's good, too, for our rookies to see us fail.
Bro, let me tell you, I had this same thing. I had that happen to me. It was not last shift, the shift before. You know, the great idea was let's all go outside and try to high stick the 20-foot roof ladder. And, you know, having not done that, you know, almost ever myself, I'll be the first person to tell you, I wore that son of a bitch like a necklace the first couple times I did. I made an ass out of myself. But you got to be humble enough to. I had Vinny there, who's not only he's like half gorilla, but he knows what to do. So between him and Brian, like, they got me squared away, and now it's easy.
Right.
But being humble is what brought that in. But I wore that something.
Well, and that's good. I think I worked overtime the other day and had a rookie that wasn't ours. And was kind of talking to him a little bit about it's good for the rookies to see us experience those failures in training as well. I think, because a lot of times you get the officers that don't want to look like they don't know what they're doing in front of their rookies.
Right.
Like, okay, I haven't picked up a ladder in 6 months. Well, I'm not going to throw one right now in front of him. And then the cycle continues. Well, now you get someone that's been here for 2 years. And they might not know any better because they came from a station that doesn't do that stuff.
Right. And
they're too afraid to go out there and try something because they're worried they're going to fail.
Right.
And then it snowballs. And the next thing you know, 5 years has gone by, and it's like, oh, man, now if I don't do it, I'm going to look really stupid. And now I'm a senior guy with a rookie behind me. Mm-hmm. So if they see us out there doing things that are pushing our limits, knowing that it's okay to that's why we train, we won't have that in 5 years of these guys that have been here for a little while but haven't done the stuff, so they're too afraid to try in front of a younger guy, you know.
Most of them are just waiting for you to make it okay, and you can take that sentence and apply it to every action that you have at the department, whether it's cooking dinner or throwing ladders or like having the sand to have a tough dinner table conversation with everyone, or being humble. Everything that we do, because we're so visible and our hands are in everything that's happening at the station all the time. So everything that you're doing is making whatever that action is okay, and that's good, and that's for the good and the bad. So because when you're when you're being foul, you're making it okay. Mm-hmm. When you don't ever touch the ladder and you just tell, all right, go throw the ladders, or you put go up to 35. And if you're the point guy instead of the go up first guy, you're making it okay for that. And
that goes back to the duds too. And you said it a couple minutes ago, include them. You know, if you get a new guy at the station that's a dud and they're in a recliner, they may have just come from somewhere for the last 3 years where they weren't doing this stuff. Mm-hmm. And then you come into a station, especially like 5, where there's 12 dudes out there doing stuff all day long. Mm-hmm. A lot of that is because they're just a little intimidated to go out there and look like they don't know what they're doing.
Yeah, be humble, go out there and say, hey, man, we're going to go throw some ladders. Why don't you come on outside? And maybe they don't the first time. Yeah. You'll get them eventually.
Yeah.
And all the new guys are watching. If you're the guy if you're the lieutenant that's going up there and being like, hey, man, why don't you come out here and throw some ladders with us? Those new guys just watch you do that. So then that's setting that standard for them in the future of like, man, like we don't just talk crap about the people that don't do anything. Like include them in what we're doing, and kind of sets that standard. And then going back to the thing about what you just said about setting standards for your kid and how can you uphold a standard that you don't abide by. There's a quote by Joe Rogan. I had to look it up again because it says, your children will eventually learn who you are beyond the title of a parent. Make sure they can discover a person they can be proud of. That not only involves your family with your kids, but insert lieutenant. Your backseat guy will learn who you are besides a lieutenant.
Oh yeah, and he or she may not realize who you've been until their 5th year, or their 3rd year, or whatever. However you have been, there's going to be a time in all of their career when they're like, that guy, he really sucked, or that guy that's the guy that was my favorite LT. He's the one, and I didn't know it until just now. He's the one that I enjoyed being on the rig with the most. He's the one we had the most laughs and we learned the most from. They're not going to know it right away, because they don't know. To the new person that just jumps off the bus and comes in the station, as far as they're concerned, everyone is you until they go out there. All right, and the question is who'd they get right before you, or who are they getting after you? And you will be compared by that.
Well, and hopefully whoever they get after you, you've set the standard. Right. Hopefully we, are moving in a direction where the standard is the standard for the whole department.
There's always going to be, there has to be a high and there has to be a low. In order for both of them to exist, there has to be one or the other. And so let me put you on the spot for a second. And I'm going to refer back to when I had said Station 5 has all these top-notch dudes, but, and this isn't taken away from anyone's accomplishment, but the comparison is only by what's relative. So compared to just everyone else, if we brought everyone up to you, now what are you going to do? Right?
I hope we
you're going to have to be better, right? So if what would be, and maybe this is a rhetorical question, where do you guys go from here?
Well, I think
trying to think of the best way to answer that.
Yeah, I think that's going to be one of the challenges that we face soon. Is like me and Ross are going to be promoting out, and that's when like my strengths are just magnified by Jake's strengths. Like how we work together on a call. Like I can do the best job I can do, but I'm only one person. So if I run a call with Jake and I'm on airway, we're on the rescue together, I'm on airway, and actually Josh, because he always takes the IO. But
he's like an IO sniper.
I can kill the airway portion, but if Josh misses the IO, who cares?
Right.
So I feel like that's kind of like the way that we get better is by spreading out. I mean, not that I want to spread out, but spreading out and like increasing our numbers.
Well, the rhetorical part would be, or I think the part of the statement that is more improbable than anything is, what do you guys do if everyone was Station 5? Where would you go, like to stay?
Yeah. I think at that point it would just be,
there's a high that comes along with that. Yeah. Like there's a pride.
Oh yeah.
Right. And you'll figure it out along the way, right? But the truth is who you are, the drive that you have will push that. What I would like you to think about and see if you can give some advice out there would be for someone who has a crew of their own and wants what you have. Because 5 you guys get a lot of fires. There's nothing anyone can do about that. When they come, they come. But it's not just that. The station wasn't built just because you guys, the station's whole attitude isn't built upon how many fires you guys go to. The station's attitude is built upon, what you all bring in there. Like aside from pulling you guys out and just shoving you out into the world, how do we make more places that desired to go to? Because it's one of those where when we have a pile of new people like we have right now, they're all going to want to go work at Station 5, right? So how would somebody turn their crew? What would be step one? Would probably be an easier question. What would be step one to have that at my station?
Put your gear on.
I think step one's I
love that. Yeah, I love that.
That, or even to go more basic than that, have the conversation.
Yeah.
Recognize that the conversation needs to be had. Like, oh, you know what? I'm not there yet. My station isn't there yet. We're going to sit down and we're going to kind of talk about where we want to be and where I want to be. And then we're going to start working towards that.
We were talking about having a conversation with the whole station.
Yeah, with your crew. Just be like, look, this is something that I know we can get to here.
Right.
And then once you have that conversation, okay, how do we accomplish this? Let's go put our gear on. Let's go do, it can even be medical training. And a lot of it comes down to your attitude. Like we talked a lot about attitude earlier. I expect when we go to, obviously, like the 2 a.m. lift assist, it's gonna be like, oh God, dude. Like,
right.
But when we get there, nobody on our crew is gonna act inconvenienced by, the lady that we're picking up off the floor at 2 a.m. Every single person on our crew goes in there with a good attitude. Hey, they're back in bed. Do you need us to do anything else? Do you need some water? Do you, Justin stayed inside of a house the other day on a lift assist to put some lady's socks on her feet. Like stuff like that is important.
And you make it okay.
Yeah, and your attitude is everything for those new guys that are on the truck. If I've been here for 2 weeks and someone's like, all right, get back in bed so we can go back to bed.
Right.
That's going to be contagious.
So you called us again, right? Or, what is it now? Oh, yeah.
So I think that the conversation being had is a big one. And then
I like putting your gear on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Put that gear on and do something.
Yep.
Even if you put your gear on and plan something fun.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, we've played dodgeball in our gear.
Oh, yeah, or pickleball or,
We play dodgeball with a not a dodgeball. Like, you can up the ante when you got your gear on.
Yeah.
Some more padding.
But I think another thing with that too is having that difficult conversation, and then also like, I'm just using a lieutenant as an example, but this can be an engineer or a backstep guy. Whenever you put yourself out there and you have that conversation, everyone's looking at you now, like they are waiting for you to fail, and I think that's what you can't be afraid of. Is like, I know we're not to the standard that we need to be, and neither am I. Like, I'm just wanting to be at this standard. So, like, going out there and, like you just said, with throwing the 20-foot ladder, it's like, yeah, I'm probably going to fail. I'm going to wear that thing like a necklace.
Oh, yeah.
But guess what? I learned what not to do. And I think that's a big thing of, like, not being afraid to fail, because I know I fail pretty much every shift. Jake doesn't.
Whatever. That's not true. Well, you can't be afraid to teach someone to get better than you either. Like my goal, I was thinking about it today. We were out there teaching the new hire survival week. My goal is to make them better than I am. While I was working overtime, and I'll use Mead as an example again, because Mead was kind of like the first rookie that I had that got to stay with us after. You know, he didn't get off probation and then get swung out a bunch, and he's been
and then he's gone forever.
Yeah, now he's driving, and he's kind of really fell into that senior fireman role at Station 5. But we worked overtime together somewhere the other day, and we were kind of teaching a rookie some stuff that we do at 5. And every time I went to say something, he was saying it before I could get there. We go out and do gear drills together, and he smokes me. Whether it's a fast mask up, a gear drill, a workout, and he wasn't like that when he started. He had a good foundation. He was young and green, but he always had that work ethic. But it's fun to watch those guys once you teach them to have that moment of damn, dude, he's kicking my ass right now. And I had him when he was a 19-year-old kid. So don't be afraid to teach someone to be better than you, because that's only going to raise your standard, because now you're trying to keep up with the young guy and you're working your ass off just to I have to work my tail off to keep up with Mead now.
Well, to bring up Tim Clark again, that's kind of like the example he set for us. Is whenever I came in as a new backseat guy at Station 5, he's out there washing trucks. He's running circles around me in training. And I'm like, this dude is literally old enough to be my dad. I was 21, 22 whenever I got to Station 5. I'm like, I'm getting smoked by this guy. And then I think it was probably 2 months ago, we were doing a gear workout, and Tim looked over, and his bottle's at 4,900, and mine is at 45 something. And he's like, dang, you got a low bottle. I was like, yeah, why is yours so high? And he goes, well, I got to keep up with y'all. Right. I'm like, dang, dude.
That you notice you dug that out of your memory bank.
Yeah.
Right. So that that's the standard right
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
It's just that one moment is the standard. Is as good of a definition of the standard as anything else. Is that one moment, like the overfilled bottle. Like, it's not even supposed to have that much air in it,
Yeah.
but damn it, I'm gonna do it just because, like, I'm not finished. My belt's not, because that's what everyone dreads.
Yeah, who's gonna ring first?
Yeah, no. And I like it when I can last longer than everyone. At least I was that way for a long time. I made it a sense of pride. Like my bell was the last to go off, and I'm working like probably 10 minutes past everyone else. Most of that was just my genetics, just because I'm very narrow and I don't have a big lung volume, and that's just how I'm built. So I can make even working hard, I can make a 45-minute bottle. If I'm really trying, I can come close to 40 minutes on a bottle, and it's just my genetics. It has nothing it doesn't have that much to do with cardio or anything else. And you can have somebody who can outwork me, and they're going to suck it down in 22, but maybe we've done the same amount of work, or even if we haven't, we're not putting 60 and 75-minute bottles on there. All you got is what you got. There's only 62 cubic feet of air in there, and every time you take a breath in, I breathe in a half a cubic foot, and you breathe in 4.
Yeah.
Right. So, there's sometimes it's having that conversation with them, and I had to have that recently with someone. It was like, they were like, "Man, you make the bottle last so long." I said, "Well, listen, part of it is me being humble enough not to sit on the throne and say, 'Heck yeah, I'm so good.' And it's like, listen, it has nothing to do with that. When I breathe in, it's a very small amount of air, and that's how I am all the time.
Yeah.
So that lends to my, that lends to how long this. And there are times I wish I could make a bottle only last 22 minutes.
Yeah.
Because I'm just done.
Right.
But pride won't let me stop. So I'm going to work until I fall over. And just yesterday, when you talked about, when you're training and the tones go off, we were doing an air consumption drill yesterday. And over the last couple of months, I usually go down. I've been, in a kick to where I go down to 500 and then see how long I can make 500 pounds last. And there are times where I just bleed it down to where it's nothing. And this time, I'm breaking my stride. I'm going to pull this thing until the mask glues to my face, and I get to 300 pounds, and the tones go off. And I'm just like, I'm smoked, because I've been stopping at 500 pounds for months now without breaking that routine, trying to get that long extension. And so we march over to the rig. I'm in my spare gear, so I rip my other gear out and I take both of it. I take a spare bottle for me, spare bottle for my backseat firefighter, throw them in the rig, and we go. We get canceled, but then we get launched out to a fire while we're out. And so those little things, to go right back to what we're talking about, I guarantee you that backseat firefighter remembers that I threw a full bottle in the back. And I never told him that I was going to do that, but I threw a full bottle back there so he could swap his bottle, because we were going to, as far as he was concerned, we're going to a structure fire now.
Yeah.
We might be smoked, but wow, he remembered that. And that was, I made it, I made it not just okay for him. That's what he'll do now.
Yeah. Well, and you set the example as, we talked about this, I think, when we did maybe it might not have been the 9/11 climb. We might have done some towers after a circuit a couple months ago.
Oh, it was my birthday.
And yeah, maybe that was it.
Yeah, we do a birthday workout for every birthday that's on shift. That person gets to pick a workout for the day. And most of the time, it's however
terrible.
old you're turning, that's how many reps of stuff you do.
Yeah, Tim's and Josh's are awful.
Yeah, I'm 47, so you wouldn't look forward to mine either.
But one thing we talked about, and we carry this over when we're teaching, when we teach the survival with the new hires, we work out with them every morning when we do their PT first.
Right.
And one thing that we were talking about is, if we quit, they're going to quit. If we keep going, they're going to keep going. So you're setting that example. As kind of a touch on what you were saying, we had one back in November. We set up the maze for the survival class that was going to be held for the Ancient City Expo. set it up, and then all of us decided to crawl through it, and it was awful. We drug the 200-pound sandbag through the maze. We were all gassed, banged out to a structure fire. Working fire in the south, knocked the fire down, came out. I was mounting my air pack, banged out to a second structure fire 3 streets over. Working fire.
All right.
Watching our backseat guys just have a blast with this, and nobody was like, I mean, obviously at the end you're like, holy shit, dude, we're gassed.
Right.
But during, nobody was like bent over on their knees or, I need to go to rehab. And that's because we've kind of have the standard at 5 on A shift where we're going to work until we're gassed.
Yeah.
And we're going to keep going after that.
Right.
So that when this happens, you might have to burn. I mean, we went through 4 bottles there in 2 hours because we were 2 bottles on the first house, 2 bottles on the second house.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of it just comes back to setting the example, I think.
Yeah, I mean, that's a standard set throughout our station, at least on A shift. Like, we've been on multiple fires where we get first due, second due, third due, whatever. We get on scene, we burn a bottle, and they're like, okay, go to rehab. And we're all standing there, fresh bottles on our back, ready to go. It's like, still in gear.
Mm-hmm.
And I know the first one that I really saw do that again was Tim, but like, I just had a fire up in 1 zone, or 10 zone actually, on overtime. And the whole time I'm up there, I'm just like, I can't take my gear off because Tim would be pissed. So I'm just like standing there ready to go. And that's like, he has never said anything about that, but that's just a standard that he sets for himself, and it's contagious.
Imagine the feeling if you're in rehab, you got your coat off, steam's rolling off, and you're like you're taking your first pull off of ice cold water, and then you look over there and Tim's staring at you in his gear like,
But,
you could just feel his look.
That's a standard now for our station of.
Well, and I've been
we're
watching,
ready to work. We're at the scene of a fire. This is what we waited for our whole career.
Right.
It's like, you might have that career fire, and you want to go burn 1 bottle and go lay in the front yard. It's like, heck no, not here.
Mm-mm.
So that's the standard we've set for ourselves.
And I've been watching Tim. Myers was another big one. Jason Myers.
Yeah.
When they were at 5.
Yeah.
I was at 11 my rookie year, and I didn't have the most motivated crew. Luckily, we came into Station 5. This was old 11. Luckily, we came into Station 5 all the time.
Right.
So I was learning from Tim Clark and Jason Myers, and that wasn't just how to be good at the job. Those guys are awesome husbands, very involved in their kids' lives, just good dudes outside of work.
And quiet too.
Yeah,
Isn't that something like you learn? You guys have learned maybe the most from 2 people who have the least to say.
Oh yeah,
You know what I'm
100%.
saying? Because both of them are humble enough to, like, I know Tim, if he doesn't know, he's either gonna shrug or just gonna say, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. And that's another big thing, gift, if you will, that you can give to your crew is not knowing.
Yeah.
Right? And there have been times in the past where I want to have an answer, and then so the bullshit is starting to stack up in my head. Do I try to reason this, or do I just be humble enough to say I have no idea? And I'll be honest with you, it feels so much better just to admit.
Yeah, it's okay.
I don't know. And and they're waiting for that. They're waiting for it.
That's one thing that I've figured out. I think whenever I went to 14, whenever I first got promoted, is like, I don't know anything. Like, I'm just a standard dude just like you.
Yeah.
So then I forget who was backseat, but somebody asked me, asked me a question about the job, and I'm like, I have no idea. It's like, but let's figure it out.
Yeah.
And it's like having that mentality of it's okay to not know, but it's okay to not know, but you need to figure it out. Like,
Right.
it's okay to not know in the moment,
Right.
but
And again, that's big for guys that are young.
Yeah.
Like, I can tell you right now, being 18 years old or 19 when I started, you kind of have that 19-year-old mentality of man, I should know this. I don't want to look stupid in front of
Right.
these older guys.
Right.
And who was really good at that actually? Like when I got promoted engineer, I was still a younger. I think I was 22, 23 maybe. Wasn't married yet, and I got with Luke Nehemiah on Rescue 14.
Oh yeah.
And man, talk about positivity and just coming into work every day with a good attitude.
He just oozes he's that guy. He's one of my favorite people in the department. Luke and I went to fire school, and I'm going to tell you right now, he hasn't changed one drop.
Yeah, you want to talk about
One
humble?
drop, yeah.
Like, man, hey, what do I do here? Well, let's go ask somebody that knows because I don't know.
Yeah.
You know, and he's okay with that. And another dude that's just loves being a dad,
Yeah.
loves the crap out of his wife, you know,
Yeah.
just to, like, when he's not working, he wants to be at home, you know, doing whatever he can do to be involved in his family. And again, we keep talking about dads and husbands and stuff. This doesn't, when I started working, I was living at home with my mom, you know, like, if you're a 19-year-old kid and you're doing this, how are you acting at home with your parents? How are you acting with your siblings or your girlfriend or your best friends? Like, all of that is important.
Yeah. Well, and you know, where the subject comes up with us of, you know, being a dad, being a husband, being, you know, friends, lifelong friends, if you will, with the people at the station. And yeah, you got a 19-year-old and an 18-year-old that works for you right now. But where do you think he's going to be? He or she are going to be in 5 to 10 years. They're going to be wearing the shoes, the house shoes that you wear right now, and you know, all the example and all the consistency that you've been putting out there, whether it's good or bad. They will be a version of that. They will be you will make them. You will help shape, you know, who they are. You know, I don't know who said it, but you know, they said that you're a mixture of like the 5 people that you're around all the time. And luckily for you guys, your crew is like-minded, so it's like being around yourself half the time.
Oh yeah.
You know, so you know, you're in a good spot. But there are some officers, if you will, and even in firemen who are surrounded by duds, or surrounded by, you know, officers who want to be good, but just don't know where to start. And you know, put your gear on. Put your gear on. Let them see it. Let them see you fail. Let them wear that ladder around your neck once or twice. I mean, don't put yourself in light duty doing it. Yeah. But I'm gonna tell you, like, it was humbling for me because, you know, Philip. I'll throw Philip under the bus. The last time I think I worked at Station 5, he convinced me to try to throw the 35, and I wouldn't recommend it. Right? I did it, and it was a shit sandwich. Yeah. But I got it up, and I almost wore it around my neck. It was one of the ugliest ladder raisings you've ever seen in your life, and thank God I did it in the dirt, because it would have been impossible any other way. But you know, fast forward to just 2 shifts ago, like knowing that I've high shoulder stuck the 35, I can do the 20 footer. I go out there all confident, even do my little battle cry as I'm running up to the tower and try to high stick that thing into the concrete, and it made an ass out of me. Yeah. And it felt good. It honestly did. It felt really, I mean, wearing the ladder never really feels good, but knowing that my crew saw me do it, and knowing that was an opportunity, you know, in itself, but that was an opportunity for them to see me fail and then me push past it. And so I did it right in front of them. And I'm grateful for having 2 people there to show me, and how grateful your crew should be to have you there to get them past the low points or their instability, you know. And what you do with that is completely up to you.
Yeah. Well, and you're gonna have those times in your career too. I think, like we said it earlier, we talk every day about not taking for granted what we have right now.
Oh.
But we've only been here 9 and 7 years. We got 25 years to do this.
You got a pact or something, like no one's leaving.
You're going to have times in your career, I think. It's inevitable where you're going to be with, whether it's 2 guys or, you know, a majority of the station.
Yeah.
And that's when you really got to dig deep into your character and who it is that you want to be, because it, like we were saying earlier, it's all contagious. So you can't let that type of negativity and that kind of mentality kind of sneak in. And it's easy for it to happen. So I think just always paying attention to who you want to be and the character you want to have, and being willing to go out there and do that, you know. is talk about starting somewhere.
Yeah.
Have the conversation, put your gear on, and then go out there and show people you're not afraid to.
I 100% agree with both of those. When you talk about having the tough conversations, I'll be the first person to admit this last crew, my current crew now, was the first time in my career that we, I think if it wasn't day one, it was day two. Myself and Vinny and Brian sat the whole crew down at the breakfast table first thing in the morning and said, this is who we are. This is what we are. This is what we will do. This is what you can expect from us. If there's something that we're not doing, we expect you to hold us accountable to it. And there's going to be a standard. And it was. I look back at however many crews I've had throughout the years and see all the missed opportunities that I've had, because I've had those conversations, but usually it's just one-on-one, right? I never really had the opportunity to have that type of buy-in from the other officers there. And if they did, we never allowed ourselves to start that.
It's easy to have that conversation with the rookie when you get a rookie, like these are expectations. But when you're a new lieutenant and you go into a new station, it's like, man, how do I approach this?
It was fantastic. I mean, I would tell anyone, no matter where you are, if you want change, they're gonna want to see it. But there has to be a plan, and the plan starts at the table. And being humble enough to say, listen, I suck at this too. And we're going to grow.
Yeah,
we're going to grow. We're going to be better, and we're not going to be, this crew. And I wouldn't even tell you, don't define what you're not going to be. And I probably shouldn't have said that. Define who you are going to be, because we're going to be not a lot more things than the things that we're going to be, right? So that's define where you want to go. Right, and put your gear on.
Yeah.
Damn it,
Yeah,
Justin, that was a good one.
I think the expectations thing with sitting down at the table, that's huge. Because I know, whenever I got promoted and went to Station 14, yes, I'd been an out-of-position engineer as a backseat guy for 2 years before I got promoted. But now I'm in this position, and this is my position. And Tim Young and Luke Nehemias, they kind of set those expectations early. And then something that was huge too is them asking me, what are my expectations of them? And having that reversal of because I know we've talked about before, we were backseat, we're in the trenches getting swung all over the place, and it's man, I just wish someone would fight for me. And it's how do you even know if your backseat guy wants you to fight for him if he doesn't tell you? If you're not open enough so that he feels like he can come to you and tell you hey, I really need this right now.
That's a good point.
The younger guys have to have the ability to hold you to a standard as well, I think. And that's not even the younger guys. Once you test into the lieutenant position on your crew, again, Justin and I are best friends outside of work. I know that he has an expectation for me as his officer if I'm his officer on the truck that day. We're still going to be best friends all day long, but he has a certain expectation that he wants me to uphold and a standard that he expects me to set and hold. And then I have one for him, and
that just comes with a position.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you promote into that lieutenant spot, if you're riding above me, I have an expectation of sorry. I have an expectation of what my officer should be doing. And not that it means anything to them. It could be Joe Schmo from Station 42, and it's he doesn't care, but I care. And I'm sure he has expectations for me.
Well, and to touch on the outside of work stuff, when you get a guy that you come in, I can, if I'm a new guy, and I'm man, I got these expectations for this guy, and he seems like he's pretty squared away, but every single day he's coming in here so hungover that he can't do the job, or he's talking about all the BS that he was getting into all week long, and just treating his wife like crap, or treating his kids like crap, or his parents like crap, whatever it is, I'm gonna lose. Like, he's gonna lose some buy-in just naturally, because it's like, yeah, you're a good fireman, but I don't really respect any of the stuff that you're doing outside of work.
Right.
So how am I supposed to look to you as a leader, because you don't have a standard for yourself just in life?
Well, it's trust. That just goes right to the most basic part of our bond is trust, and it's something that you can't define it. It just is. You just know. Just like real. You can't define real, but you know it when it's there.
Right. When you see
like you can, how we can just kind of smell bullshit from a mile away. I mean, you can't really define it. It's an instinct, but you know it. I think one of the tough things to do is to say that to your people and say, listen, hold me accountable, right? And tell them, let me know what you need from me. But those words are, I won't say empty, but those words are hollow to someone who's non-confrontational too. Because remember, you're going to have a guy potentially who's on his 19th birthday shows up and doesn't know how to have that conversation. I don't know. I don't know what accountability even means.
Right.
I mean, through those officers' behaviors, through their officers' behaviors, they'll learn what accountability is. But it's you can say it. That doesn't mean they're prepared, like emotionally or even have the vernacular to be able to say, listen, I need this from you. I need, do you think the 19-year-old guy knows what consistency really means?
Mm-hmm. Well, and a lot of it is maturity too. Like we talked about this the other day when it comes to on-the-job stuff.
Yeah.
Just going to fires or medical calls and not recognizing when you're 19 years old, like, why it is we're doing certain. Like, I remember being 19, catching fires and being like, oh, pull the line, put the fire out. Fire goes out, and then afterwards you're not really thinking about what you were looking at or why you pulled what you did. Life was
so easy then.
Yeah. But it's fun now because we have that maturity where we finished that fire. We put that fire out the other day. Mm-hmm. And we both, I think at one point in the kitchen while we were waiting for the squad to get there to stretch the line, we're just like, okay. We had a brief conversation about okay, we're going to split. You take the master bedroom. I'm going to go search the living room. Mm. And then we came back and it was kind of, like I said earlier, it felt like a canned confidence class. But it was because at 19, I wouldn't have had the maturity to be able to say okay, look at how the fire's rolling.
Right.
Look at how it's reacting to the water that we're hitting it with the can and stuff like that. Thinking about where to direct the line and the best, door to make access for the squad. And I think that comes with not just on fire calls, but just everything in life. Having the maturity to recognize why you're doing certain things. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think this job is one of the few jobs that we're blessed to go to work. And at our station alone, I work with a guy that's 47?
Yeah, I think so.
47. And I think the youngest guy at our station now is 21?
I think he's 23 now.
23?
Mm-hmm.
So it's
fast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have this wide range of people, and I'm learning stuff every day from the people that are older than me. I'm learning stuff from Jake, and I'm learning stuff from Mead, who's
23.
Yeah,
that's
7
magic
years younger.
when it's the firefighter teaching.
Oh yeah.
And even if they don't, because sometimes they don't even know that they're doing that.
Right.
And I'd be willing to say most of the time they'll have no idea when you're learning from them.
Oh yeah.
But you're getting stuff from them whether you know it or not.
Yeah.
But I will say is this new hire class comes out. I think 2 of the squads in the new hire class I talked to yesterday, none of them have had a fire job. I think probably over half of them were under 25. Mm-hmm. And it's if you're an officer at any of the stations in our county and you get these guys, they're young.
Oh, you got a lot of work to do.
They have a whole life ahead of them.
Mm-hmm.
And how your interaction is with them in the first year of their career will determine the direction of their life, whether good or bad.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
either
off
be
or on the job.
yeah,
Yeah.
be the example of a good dad, be an example of a good husband, be an example of a good fireman,
Yeah.
and then just see what develops after you.
I like where the two of you are at your age. It's I don't want to say it's uncommon, but to have the level of maturity at you guys' age, is commendable, right? And I take my hat off to both of you for, because this is somewhat sticking your neck out here,
Yeah.
right? Because of accountability. Believe what no one has come up to me and saying, hey, you said this on your podcast, what's the deal? But they're thinking it,
Right.
right? And I know that, but you guys are setting the example to the new people that are coming in. You guys are like making it okay right now through what you're saying now. You're making it okay to talk about family and involve their families in your lives and let your people see that you're doing that. I love the fact when you say you had like all the families was it Christmas Eve?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we worked Christmas Day. But it was Thanksgiving, as a matter of fact. Everyone had to bring in tables and chairs and stuff. We probably had a 42-foot long dinner table. It was glorious.
Yeah,
It was
it's
one of
fun.
the best things I've ever. One of the best that was one of the best shifts I had, and I couldn't tell you how long.
Yeah,
And I can guarantee that's going to make your home life better too.
yeah.
If you're involving your family in that,
Yeah,
and you guys all get to be a part of it together. We referenced the rig competition. At one point, I looked over and Harper, Josh and Katie's daughter, Sailor, Justin and Brooke's daughter, my daughter Abby, and Ross's son Jude are just running circles, chasing each other around a ladder truck.
Yeah.
How awesome is that?
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of, again, a rare thing. We're very, very blessed in what we got right now, but I think it makes your home life that much easier when, again, I think it makes it where they understand why we're doing what we're doing. Why are we so passionate about what it is that we're doing? Here, come watch. Just come watch.
Yeah. And you can't lose sight of like, who are you doing this for?
Yeah.
Like, you come to work, everyone has a job. Well, most people have a job, and most of the time it's to make money, provide for their family. Yes, we enjoy our job. Like, coming to work it doesn't even feel like we're coming to work. But at the end of the day, I'm paying bills, I'm providing food for my family, so why not include them?
Right.
Like, they are a huge reason of why I'm in this job.
Yeah. And like you were saying earlier, they sacrifice all the time for us to be able to do
Every
this.
time you go to work, it's a sacrifice.
Yeah, just wait till you get mandatory.
Yeah. Let me tell you, it's when you're getting mandatory or holidays. It's in the average citizen or the average person who's never interacted with this job has no idea.
Yeah.
I came into this job in my 30s, right, and I was introduced to this life in my 20s during EMT school, and I couldn't have told you I could barely tell you what the fire truck looked like.
Right.
I had never set foot into one. I didn't have there's no legacy or anything like that. All I had was, by the time I got here, I had almost a lifetime's worth of hard work before I even landed. So my experience was as a firefighter was different than you guys, is because I was already a grown up and already had a child by that point. But even then, like, you guys are doing in your 20s more than a guy like me did in my 30s. And it's because of your character. It's because, if you'll allow me this, part of your whole outlook and both of your abilities is lent from being right next to one another, being in the company of one another. Like I said, you're the 5 people who are around all the time, and if you guys haven't put those people around you, you two have created some of the people around you, whether you know it or not. Every day you show up, it's your, like, you're being the example. You're being consistent.
Show me your friends, I'll show you your future.
There you go. Dang, you are good at this.
That's in the Bible.
Brandon Seymour had said something, and I want to leave you guys with this. If you listen to his podcast, and if Brandon Seymour is one of the, like, he's one of my favorite people in the fire service. When I came on, he had been with the city about a year or so, maybe a little more by the time I landed at West King. But I got to watch his journey, like his growth with the city. He's phenomenal. And he said, and he quoted to me, I think it was a Chief Lasky quote. He said, "Act your wage." Act your wage. Oh my God, that has weight to it right there, man. This was fun, boys.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah,
my first podcast.
Well, it's you did really well. So the takeaways will be consistency. Have the tough conversations, right? Be humble, right? And own it when you F it up, and don't take the credit when things go well, because odds are you don't deserve it. Yeah. Odds are it's your people, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Be the person that you wanted to look up to. That's
beautiful. And Justin, what do we got to do?
Just put your gear on.
Put your gear on. Ladies and gentlemen, this is one for the books. I love it, and it's coming to you soon.